Welcome everybody to Be a Voice. This is Britt Carpenter on Usula Radio. Thanks for joining me today. I'm really excited about today's show because I am able to sit here in my house and not in the studio because we are going through this crazy uncertain time of this pandemic with probably two of my favorite ladies that I've met over the past few years. I am sitting here with the ladies of Viera Vida, and they laugh at me when I say hi. Hi, ladies. Hello.
Hi, oh my God, so we're some of your favorites?
Oh, you are. You really are. I like you a lot. But before we get into that, I need to give a shout out to Dylan because Dylan, for the past few shows, has been on the other end. He's not on the video. He's been listening. He's been to my show. He's been to everybody else's show who's been doing this through the pandemic. He's been working from home. He's been doing his best trying to keep it all together for us and make it happen. So Dylan, thank you so much for that. I don't give you enough shout outs and I forget sometimes, but I appreciate you a lot.
Best engineer.
Right on. Yay, we hear him. But ladies, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. It's Julie and Chantal on the line with us here. They make up the ladies of a show on Usula called Viera Vida, which has been on for how long now? Since the beginning, almost?
Yeah, since almost. July or August of 20, not last year, but the last one.
So 18. A month after Usula started.
Yeah.
So you're really like one of the flagship shows of Usula.
I guess you could say that.
I will say that.
I didn't realize that.
Run with it. When you leave today, you'll be like, "Oh, I'm gonna print that on my card." Flagship.
I'm gonna put it on a T-shirt.
Add it to my LinkedIn. Let's see.
I'm gonna go sew that. I'm gonna embroider that. So tell me, ladies, what is Viera Vida? What is it? What started it? How did the two of you come together? Talk.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll get started and then I'll pass the torch, Channy. So Viera Vida is my last name, Viera. Viera means to see in Spanish. So to see life. And so the show is about seeing life through the perspective of, millennials, because that's who we are right now, and really trying to get new perspective on what we want this life to look like, what we're fulfilling in life. And so it started off as a blog because I was really sick in about 2014, 2015, and so I wasn't able to leave my bed. So I figured in order to be productive, I would start a blog and figure out how to do all that stuff. And then eventually it morphed from a blog to like a YouTube channel. And then from there to different, entrepreneurial endeavors. And finally, when we got offered the opportunity, Fernando Trevino actually reached out to me and he was like, "Hey, they're looking for a young professional at Usula to do a show. Would you like to do it?" I was like, "Yeah, but if I'm gonna do this, my friends are gonna eat too." So I said, friends, Chantal and Mercedes at the time. Mercedes is on sabbatical because she has a really intense job at a hospital. I was like, "Hey guys, do you want to do this with me?" And they agreed, and it's been history since.
That's amazing. So, and Chantal, how did you feel then about this coming on? Is this your first endeavor into, podcasts and radio shows and the vlogger sphere?
Yes, it was my first endeavor. It is my first endeavor. And at first, Julie could probably tell you, I was like, oh, well, like I can help maybe. I didn't use these words, but I was thinking like, I can maybe be a contributor. Probably just going to be you. I can help you in the background, all that stuff. But she was very serious about, no, this is going to be the three of us. And while I appreciate you wanting to help, you're going to do a little bit more than that. So very appreciative of her reaching out, saying, this is what I'm doing and you're coming along too. Because it also showed me what I'm able to do. And it showed me something inside of me that I didn't know I was capable of. And we are mostly always together, but Julie has had to do a show by herself at least once or twice. I've had to do it at least once or twice, and it was the scariest thing, but we made it through, done it. And we both got really good feedback. And it's like, wow, okay, all right, add this to the resume. you know, so yeah.
That's awesome. And it's amazing. It's amazing. Like, this is my first time doing this ever. I was a guest on Fernando Mendez's show twice. And then I was invited back to guest host for him while he was gone. And to me, it was just fun. And it is fun. That's all it is. To me, it's just fun. It's being able to connect with people. It's being able to share with others. It's being able to learn about different people and where they come from, who they are, their ideologies. And, and that's why I call it being a voice. It's funny. I just really thought about rebranding my show and not calling it Be a Voice anymore.
Oh,
yeah.
What do you call it?
I've been really thinking about. I want to call like Everyday People.
Oh, I got a good theme song for you.
Go ahead, sing it.
Arrested Development.
And that's what I was gonna say, Dylan. Can we get that theme music for my show?
I got you. Hold on, let me find this.
Dylan, are there legal rights to that music?
Yeah.
You just let them know, like I don't have the rights to this.
I mean, we use the Golden Girls theme song.
Do you?
Yeah.
Because we're being a voice, but it's what we are. We're everyday people. Right. I like to think, that I'm nobody special. I mean, I'm probably special to, some people, but I'm just, an ordinary person. And then it's interesting because that's who we are. And we want to just share with people who we are, what we do, what we stand for,
right.
What we believe in, a glimpse of our lives, our crazy lives that, we're real like everybody else. And that's what you do. And, and right now we're facing some pretty real times, some pretty crazy times. How's it been for you ladies?
It feels really, I think Everyday People feels more inviting. Be a Voice is great. It's a call to action. But like you're being a voice already and intrinsically. So I think that's so cool. It's so welcoming. It feels communal, and you're a communal guy.
We're changing it. Changing.
We're part of history.
We're part of the branding of the show. See that? During a pandemic, great minds come together.
Like it.
And I told Dylan about this before, right, Dylan? Take yourself off mute, Dylan.
He's like, I am the engineer because I would like to be behind the scenes.
So Dylan, we're gonna rebrand that then. See, I told you. Bam.
He's like, no, I've got more work. No, I'm just kidding. He's a sweetheart.
More music. Sorry, one of my entourage is over here snoring on her puppy bed. So it's very distracting. It's not aw.
I feel the same. I was gonna ask, can you guys hear my son playing with his cars upstairs? Because it's loud pounding, like vroom, race cars across my apartment floor, and I'm just
kittens are crying behind me. I thought you guys could hear it. So you guys, we're everyday people.
The kittens are crying, the dogs are snoring, the kids upstairs, Dylan's muting us. What more can we ask for at this point?
So Britt, without taking over your radio show as we've been known,
it starts.
Other shows. I want to ask you a question, my friend. How are you during this time?
Mm-hmm.
So, I've been videoing my dogs and cats daily, like I do with children because I'm bored. But I'm also like I work during it. My business is considered essential because I care for animals in other people's homes when they're not there or they need care for them or because they can't care for themselves.
Right.
So, my pet sitting and dog walking company is essential. So I have no employees left except for one. So 8 employees are gone because the rest of the business is gone.
Ay, bendito.
Like my business went from, here to here, it's one of those, when people go from 0 to 60, this went from 60 to like 8 miles an hour, and so I'm out there daily doing the visits from all ends of the city. I'm running, from South Philly to Rittenhouse to Fairmount to Manayunk, and then I'm caring for my own home. And then I am out a few days a week doing outreach for my nonprofit. So You know, it's funny you asked that because like just today I was like, you know, I have a few clients who are like, if you take a day off, let us know. And I'm like, I want tomorrow off. Like, I need a break. Like,
Yeah.
my brain is ready to go because, like, yeah, I mean, I come home to my dogs and cats, which is amazing. But like, that's it. That's what I've got. And what do I do all day long? Walking dogs.
Right.
You know what I mean? So my social interactions are very far and few between. That like at least people will have like their significant others or their spouses. So you know, I'm taking it day by day. You know, I've lived through a lot worse in my life. You know, and I made it this far, and you know, I'm okay. You know, I try to maintain that realness and positivity, and you know, good, bad, and different all at once. Thanks.
Right.
Still smiling.
You have to. I mean, you really have to. Like, I actually did text Dylan the other day. Like, I was frustrated. A show had canceled, and it was like an out of frustration sort of thing where, like, it was like I was sitting there and like I just cried.
Yeah.
And
Sometimes it's like that.
I allowed myself to cry, and I was like, and it was maybe the show canceling, and it was a second show that canceled, and it was like the fact that I had to go back out there on the streets and deal with the people who aren't following protocol.
Mm.
At least I'm following protocol out there. You know, I got my mask. I'm sanitizing the heck out of my hands. That I think I'm down to the final layer of skin. You know, but you know, how about you, ladies? How you doing, Chantel? How you holding up?
Yeah, same. Having to smile. So Julie knows. For me, I always have to take like inventory of the good, right? So my inventory of the good is so far my family's still healthy. Um, we're not missing a meal. My husband is his job is considered life sustaining because they're mental health um, organization, nonprofit. So
Right.
he's still working. I still have my job, which is awesome. I worked at a Head Start, so it's kind of up in the air how long we're going to be able to sustain being open during this time. But we're, you know, so I have to take that inventory of there's still things for me to be grateful for and thankful for. But then there's a whole bunch of other things, like you said, around me that are just like, if it's not one thing, it's another. And my sister sent me a really good song. And I'm probably have to share it with you guys. It was really good. I think his name is Anthony Ramos. He's the new lead character in the Heights. He's also played the movie that's about to come out. He sings, and the song is called "Smile Today, Cry Tomorrow," and it's amazing, the lyrics and everything. And I'm gonna have to share it with the two of you. And that day that she sent it, I wanted to cry, but then I had a Zoom meeting at 11, and she sent it at like 10:30.
No way.
So, oh my gosh, this is like speaking to me. I want to cry. Oh, you have a meeting, but it's like really just taking inventory for the things that I can smile for and just be grateful for. And that's just really what I try to keep at the forefront of my mind at all times.
You know, and you know, I think for me, like, I don't mention that. Like, yeah, I'm very thankful for
Yeah.
like my family's health. That, you know, I'm very thankful for my health. I'm very thankful for what I have. I mean, for what I deal with on the streets, I'm very thankful for what I
Yeah.
have. You know, it's funny because like I was calling my mom as much as possible because I haven't seen her since like the end of February, and she lives an hour away, and she really doesn't want me to come see her, even to socially distance or something like that. You know, because but you know, I think she's actually sick of me calling her too. You know? Like she's like, I'm like, hi mom. She's like, hi Britt. You know, this is a real short conversation. Gotta go. Bye. But you know, I get that. You know, how about you? How about you, Jules? How you doing?
Yeah, I too have this, philosophy that the silver lining is the best thing to always look for. I just a little bit tired. It feels like I can't get a break, like so many deaths in the family, cousins with COVID, people getting taken out of their homes. And for my family, I'm the person who takes care of everything. So it's been hard. And aside from that, like, I'm looking for a way to cope. And for me, coping means doing something to help. And so I try to do that, and that helps me feel better. And then the whole social distancing thing is 100% my normal because of my health. I'm not really able to leave the house on my own or anything. So that's cool. Now I have less FOMO because everybody else is not having fun when I'm stuck in the house. So that's a silver lining.
It's crazy. I was thinking about this. I had a friend of mine on the show the other day, and her mother and her boyfriend, because they're all, they're quarantined together, and she's actually the morning traffic person on PHL 17, and we were talking about it, and I was thinking about this, like, and we talked about how, like, the septic buildup with all the toilet paper, and I'm like, all these people are being home, all these people are home at the same time right now. Everybody's home. The things are getting used so much harder than they've been before, whether it is a septic or it's a sewage or it's a water line or it's a heating or air or something like that. Like, everybody's saying, like, the environment's clearing up, but we're using so many more of our resources.
I hadn't thought of that.
I thought about my electric bill because I'm like, we got a light on in at least one room all day long. Yeah.
And it may not be much.
Yeah.
It may not be much, but if it's you, and it's you, Julie, and it's me, and it's my neighbor, and the people above me, and the people next door, and the 5 people that lived on the other side, and like, it's interesting.
True.
I just think about these things, so my mind goes on tangents.
That's a really good thought, though, because we I think have to hold ourselves accountable. A lot of times when we think about the environment, we think about that only when we leave the house, but there's so much that we can do when we're in the house. Like, a friend of mine, she was born and raised in France, and we went to go visit her last year, and my husband had the water running while he was brushing his teeth in between, like, the brushes and stuff. And she's the sweetest person in the world, like, the Chantel, like, the nicest person ever. But it, like, enraged her early in the morning. She's like, what are you doing? What's going on? And there are just certain things that we take for granted, like brushing our teeth with the water flowing. And there are things that we could do every day to minimize our carbon footprint and help the environment.
So my husband does something. He and I have had an argument about this, like when we first bought our house. We've been in the house for 5 years. And I would notice if I go to use the bathroom, he wouldn't always flush after
Mellow yellow.
And I was like, what are you doing? Like, oh, and he's just like, oh, it's saving water. And I'm like, yeah, but then it's gonna make me have to clean it more. And so that was our argument. So he started flushing. Well, now during this pandemic, he has a bathroom to himself in the basement. Where I'm at is where he's gonna be when we're done. His workday starts. He's Zoom meetings, calls. And I noticed when I came to the basement, there was still mellow yellow in the toilet. And I didn't argue with him because I'm just like, you're down here by yourself, as long as you clean it. And then come to find out, one of my aunts, my mom stayed the night there. And at night, if she gets up to use the bathroom, she does not flush. She figures at night it's saving water. So, even though I had an issue, because I'm like, I got to clean this more often, with Britt bringing up the fact that, we're all using resources so much more because everybody's like stuck. Well, just about everybody's stuck in the house. I can't even be mad at him at this point. I'm like, you know what? You were onto something, Mr. Brown. You were onto something there.
I don't know if I should share this, but I'm going to. My grandfather growing up, we didn't have a lot of money or anything. So the water bill was really important. And so at nighttime, there was a pote, like a bucket, like the Home Depot ones that they would fill with water. And that's what you would use at night. And
like flush, you pour it in.
No, not like a gravity flush. That's when you go to the bathroom in the bucket.
Oh, you go
in the morning, and you would empty it all into the then. That way, it's all at once, and you're not wasting. And that, I think that was very common back in, and I hate to use those words, back in the day, like when my grandparents were saying, growing up, my family wasn't wealthy. There was a lot of things they had to do to survive, and this has changed a lot of our. They talk about the new norm. This has changed our footprint.
Yeah,
changed our entire footprint. Whether it's the environmental one or ourselves, it's life as we know it has changed.
Yes.
And we talk about this as being our new norm. Right now, this is our new norm, and people are just sort of accepting that because we as people are adaptable.
We are.
Most are resilient. But what happens when this is over? Do we go to, like I said to them, my friends the other day, do we go back to a new norm?
Right.
Like
we're going to start flushing the toilet twice when they're going because they're just all excited.
Are we going to be wiping our groceries down? Are we going to be wearing masks outside? Because let me tell you what, Johnny Rocket that walks 3 feet away from me out in the street that doesn't have a mask on and is coughing or smoking a cigarette, it's not going to stop him. You know what I mean? It's not stopping him now. It's not going to stop him then. So how do we, what do we do? I think about that too.
There's some people who, even in the most dire times, will not hold themselves accountable. And that is the scariest thing. There have to be more of us than them. And so part of that's education, but part of it is just understanding that, okay, we're not going to change everybody. Let's change who we can. Instead of focusing on, because a lot of people will focus on that Johnny walking 3 feet, smoking a cigarette without his mask on, and waste the efforts that they could be educating other people, when it's just like, okay, Johnny, get away from me, do your thing, and then let's do other stuff.
But I'm thinking to myself, they're adults. They know what's going on. They see people walking around with masks. I'm not the only one. Like, why? I get it. I get it that some people think this is not
real. Conspiracy theories,
or it's not as bad as it is. Live your life. Do what you want to do. Don't let people hold you back. I'm all about that, but not when it's costing other people their lives.
Right.
And I don't get it. I don't get where some people's minds are one way. The president of the Philippines, you heard what he said. He ordered the militia in the Philippines to shoot to kill if somebody was not following protocol.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I know that.
I mean, it's sad that it has come to that, but people aren't following protocol and it's jeopardizing others. I mean, Julie, you said you have family that has complications from this. How about you, Chantel? Any of your family at all from complications?
So I have to say, thankfully, none as of right now. We have just, we've had good friends of the family who has unfortunately lost loved ones, Julie. And then somebody my mom was really close with, she said his very best friend passed away, and I think he was in his 40s, early 40s. So it's sad. And in the very beginning of this, when this all had happened, I am a Walking Dead watcher, right? Zombie apocalypse, what happens, playing with scenarios. We used to go to Julie's and Julio's and watch it, a whole bunch of us. We'd have Sunday dinner and watch the new episodes a couple years ago.
Opposite of quarantine.
Yeah, and we would talk about scenarios and who would be the leader, all that good stuff, right? So when this started, I took it very seriously, even though I didn't know anybody. Cases were nothing to what we see or have heard today. And I did hear a couple people well, does anybody know somebody who has this? I was but that's so, let's not think that way. I remember talking to somebody, we can't think that way. Just because you don't know somebody who has had it or who dealt with it does not mean that it's not real. What's the saying? Count your lucky stars, count your blessings that you don't know anybody if you are in that boat, and continue to do what you can to stop this from spreading, keep yourself healthy. For me, I told my husband and my family, I'm not as much worried about me and my husband, as much as I love him, as I am my children. And I kept hearing, oh, well, kids aren't being affected. One, it was very early on, so we didn't know who was affected and who wasn't. Two, my daughter just turned 1. And while she is overall healthy, we're still learning about her. I don't know anything about her little body yet as far as her getting older, any potential complications. I'm praying she never has any, but I don't want to take that chance with their lives. So it's just doing my part and making sure my children are good. And as much as I want to see my mom and my kids want to see my mom, I'm just trying to make sure we do what we need to do. And Britt, to speak to another part of what you were talking of, I too have questioned, who am I going to be after this? Am I going to keep wiping down my groceries? Am I the same thing you said? I questioned, how am I going to go about life once the dust settles and we are able to go back out? And I might keep me and my family on a 2-week quarantine after they say, oh, the last case has been out of the hospital. I'm just okay, awesome. Woo. Now let's just stay in for 2 more weeks.
Yeah.
Just chill out for a little.
We have those same conversations here about what things are going to look like after this dust clears. And I think part of it will, and I hate that we keep going back to this conversation, but will affect the economy. Like we are figuring out new recipes. We're figuring out that we don't need to maybe pay for cable. We've got Netflix, or we're figuring out that, we don't need to go out all the time. And so I wonder what economic impact that'll have on our city, just, thinking from a small business perspective. Maybe people will visit us more, or maybe people will spend less money out at the movies. I don't know, but in addition to cleaning my groceries and staying away and all those things, I wonder how I'll be different, because I like to eat out, and
Me
I
too.
like to, like, I don't know, that's all I like to do.
Yeah, add that to my hobbies.
Yeah, and it's funny for me too. Like, I don't cook. I am not a cook. Number one, I'm by myself. Cooking for yourself is a waste of time because you're always full before you're done cooking, because you tried the entire time that when it's ready, you don't want it. And you're like, oh, that sucked. I'm going to throw that out now. I don't want leftovers because I hate leftovers because they're leftovers. And I just suck at cooking. Listen, I was going to make macaroni and cheese one day. I evaporated the water. All right. So I'm bad at cooking.
Oh, we'll have to invite you after the quarantine to come eat some food.
I'm really good with like DoorDash and Grubhub. My longest relationship has been with Grubhub, and it's complicated. So
right.
say that.
Well, it is complicated because it's so convenient, but then those delivery fees add up.
Oh my gosh, like they're like $6 to deliver your food. I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to starve. What am I going to do? I want that food. So I do it. I've been thinking a lot more practical now. So I've been cooking more. I've been doing, and for me, I'm vegetarian, so it's difficult, to find, but I still love cheese. So it's easy to find stuff with cheese and make it. But and not be unhealthy, to make things. So like, this has taught me a little bit more too. And it's nice, you learn a little bit more about yourself when you're forced to be with yourself more.
Right.
And
you also learn about what you're capable of. I think a lot of times we settle and we're like, I can't really, whether it's cook or whatever, like I can't really cook. And then it's like, you have to cook, and you realize, oh, maybe I can cook a little, and you step out of your comfort zone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You like to cook? Yeah, I know you like to cook, right?
I do.
You do?
So I have a love-hate relationship with it. Sometimes I enjoy it if I tell myself, put on some music and dance around the kitchen while you're cooking, or listen to something good, like podcast or talk radio. That makes it enjoyable. And then have a glass of wine while I'm going around the kitchen. Right. That it helps.
That glass of wine helps.
Yeah.
On quarantine, are we like considered on vacation time? Like, when is it appropriate during quarantine to begin your first glass of wine?
Can I tell you something? I'm being a responsible adult because I have 2 little ones in my house. But if this was pre-children, a glass of wine would probably be in my hand.
Pineapple cocktail again, like the first time I met her. It was her first drink after her baby, and she was lit almost.
Yes,
I got your show. I'm gonna sit right here. Like Dylan was on the other end, like, what the heck's going on? Like, we're all sweating.
That is so true. That was at the Second Street Festival.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was like one of your first drinks, you were saying.
It was, and I would probably be figuring out new concoctions. I'd be doing a lot of mixing in the kitchen instead of cooking right now.
Okay, mixologist. That's crazy because Chantel's actually a really talented baker. And baking's hard. That's science.
Yeah, heck yeah.
My husband's been asking me how come I'm not baking more, and I'm like, I'm trying to hold on to like certain things like flour and sugar. Like, just keep those as long as, like, I've been trying to, I don't want him to have to keep going out and getting those things. Yeah. So, I don't want to go crazy baking. It's like, I need more flour, go get more flour. So I've been kind of steady.
We actually
with brownies, that's it.
Ooh. Yeah. We ran out of flour this weekend because I've been baking a lot of like banana nut muffins when the bananas are out, or like gravies, and we had like biscuits and gravy. So I used the rest of the flour, and I'm thinking, oh, no big deal. Like, we didn't use flour a lot before. And then my husband came back from work yesterday. I was like, oh, you're all late. Like, what happened? He's like, oh, I had to stop and get some flour so you can make more gravy. I'm like, I think we would have been fine.
Yeah.
And both of your husbands work in the healthcare field, basically. one, should I tell yours is on the nonprofit side. He does therapy, more
Yes.
so, correct?
Yes, he's a
And
director of an outpatient, mental health.
and Joel, yours is in the hospital himself. He works in a hospital.
Yeah, my husband supervises financial services at Temple, so there's always new patients during COVID. So they're actually really busy, and he sometimes has to go to the rooms and things like that. So it gets pretty scary.
And how about, for like, for when they come home, like, does that, like, do you think about that? Like, like I said, I come home and I strip outside. I take my clothes off outside, they go in a bag. I want to make sure everything's safeguarded, that I'm not even affecting my home, because I want to be clean every single day, because I'm OCD to begin with. Is this affecting you at all then? Like, knowing they're coming home from this?
Julie would have to speak more on it, because thankfully my husband's able to work from home, because they have like
Okay.
teletherapy and things like that. And he's more like supervising. So Julie would have to give you more of her take on that.
You know what? It's for me, I'm neutropenic, so that means I don't create white blood cells. So if I get sick, I can't really fight it. So even before COVID, my husband had to make sure his like work clothes and stuff were off, and we don't like use outside clothes in the house. But now it's even a bigger deal. And so as soon as he comes in, he's stripping, he goes straight to the shower, things going straight into the wash. And it's a huge deal, because I have both asthma and an immunodeficiency. So it's scary. Like, I'm not allowed to go with him on grocery runs. I'm not even allowed to go pick up the packages. As soon as the packages come in, we spray them with Lysol. It's kind of intense, and it feels like a movie right now, but it's what we have to do, because let's say even I get a cold or like the regular flu, that's not something that I can usually handle in the same way that normal people can. So it's been intense.
Chantel, about for your son, are you getting outside much at all? Spending some outside time?
So with how the weather has been,
Oh my gosh,
it's driving me a little bit bonkers. Even me,
you're not going anywhere regardless.
Right, because even me myself, I'm just like tired of the fake lighting, whatever you call this, and I want natural light, because it's making my eyes tired a lot more, I'm noticing. So yesterday I'm like, oh, the sun is shining after we've had the storms, and I opened the door, I'm like, it's so cold outside. For me as an adult, I was able to like get out and then my eyes adjust, but for my 1-year-old and my 4-year-old, it's just a little colder. So I'm like, when the days are nice, yes, we go outside and get the sun, but I just feel like we've been in a lot more than out. And I told Julie on our last show, which somebody told me it made me sound like I didn't like my neighbors. I like my neighbors, by the way. I share a breezeway.
I didn't get that vibe at all.
And we had really good neighbors. They were renting that house, but they moved. They've since got a single house somewhere else in Philly. So we don't have anybody we're sharing the breezeway with. And the timing I felt, and I shared on our show, was perfect timing. I don't have to worry about, are my neighbors outside? Are they not? Are they social distancing? Are they not? Like, I can just take my children out. I just watch for the mailman, the lady or person, to make sure that we're not, in their space when they come. And that's it. Like, so it's been pretty good.
So how do you feel about people that aren't social distancing right now? The people that are going to visit their friends or stopping by to say hi and stuff like that? Does that bother you?
I think it's selfish. It really is. And especially because at this point, there's no reason for someone not to understand the repercussions of it. It's selfish, and it's also, I see a lot of it online, and it makes it harder for those of us who are missing our families, who are missing the outdoors, who are like really doing as much as we can. I want them to hold themselves accountable, because yeah, like you think that you're fine, but I keep going back to the story of Anthony Cuomo, and how he had his mom coming over, and then his brother's like, no, she can't come over. 2 weeks later, he tested positive for COVID. Thank God that she wasn't there. Like, he didn't think he was putting her at risk. So you never know. Like, none of us are all knowing. We're not God. So it's better to get it together, people. That's what I think.
Yeah, and I wanted to share, so a lady that I work with, unfortunately her mother-in-law passed away during this whole time, and she said she actually called her mother. That's the relationship they had. She wasn't called an in-law. They like took her in really well when she married her husband. She's an older lady, the woman I work with, and in talking to her about how everything's going on, she said, we have 15 minutes at the burial site and only 10 people are allowed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow. And she said, there's more than 10 grandchildren. So now we have to pick and choose which grandchildren are allowed to come. She's like, it's just been a really, really difficult time. So you know, I say that to say if anybody's listening, they're thinking, oh, everything's fine. Like, try to think or put yourself in a scenario where you might not even be able to say goodbye to your 9 times out of 10, they're not even letting you in the hospital. You know, God forbid that your family member is doing really bad. You can't go in to see them. You can't spend what might be their last moments here on earth. So just stay home. And if you have to go out, do what you're supposed to with the masks and the making sure you're being sanitary as sanitary as you can, sanitize yourself as well as you can.
Yeah, I think what you said is what makes me a little bit more bitter. Like, one of the first things that I said when COVID started happening, I had lost my grandmother in March, and I was just thinking how devastated I would be if I didn't get to say goodbye. And I was like, I can't imagine what's going on with these funerals. And then my cousin passed away a week ago, and we couldn't be there. We couldn't hug my uncle who was living with my grandmother who passed away a month ago, and his daughter died. You know, like we couldn't like have people there. We couldn't, you could only have 10 people at the funeral, but you couldn't see her. You know, it just, there are so many different layers to this that it's just like, if you can do anything, like anything at all to show that you even just care, like let's say you don't think you're going to get sick, but like that you even care, then, you know, flatten the curve, social distance.
You know, like I said, I've got no problem, you know, with people do what they have to do, but follow protocol, do what's expected, do what, you know, like I said to my mom, I'll come up, I'll sit on the deck, you can sit inside the kitchen, you can open the window. So she's like, no. And she's like, no, you're not supposed to do that. And I'm like, okay. No.
Sure, your mom don't have a friend.
What's that?
You sure your mom don't have a friend that she's quarantining?
I doubt it. You kidding? I'm sure that they would have left.
There was a quarantine block party here in Philly.
You know, if anything, this is this conversation has told us that, you know, like, you know, this is some real going on out there. This is not anything to not take seriously. You know, we aren't halfway through this. We don't know where we are in this. You know, people saying we got one more week, we got one more, you know, we got one more day. Take it day by day.
Yeah.
You know, that's all we can do. I mean, yes, my business isn't doing as great as it can be, but guess what? I'm still here.
Yeah.
And I ate ramen noodles for an entire year when I first started my business 9 years ago. I'll do it again because I know how to make ramen noodles 9 different ways.
And you put cheese in them.
Lots of cheese. So
I actually heard on the news the other day that intermittently, not, you know, from now until then, but intermittently we could be in isolation and quarantine from now to 2022.
I heard that too, and I just refuse to listen to that part, okay?
You never know, you know?
But ladies, I wish we had more time because we can talk, and we definitely can. And you two have so much to share, and I love talking with the two of you. So can we do this again?
Yeah. I don't know, I just got emotional. It's so
your lonely friend.
I have like tears out of my eyes.
Oh my gosh, cry. We need the ratings. We need ratings, cry.
Closer to the camera.
I'm not sure anybody's even watching or listening, but cry.
And then I'm just gonna put it on my Facebook. Britt makes Chantel cry.
Love it.
But
thank you for having us.
Chantel, thank you so much to everybody out there. Join Chantel on Viera Vida on Saturday mornings at 9 a.m., 10 a.m. live, 10 a.m. They're on this morning at 9 a.m., which is, what is today? Thursday. And they're on another day too.
Wednesday at 2.
Okay. Sure. Okay. So, but check out their podcast. They're a lot of fun. They get some real great topics, and we're going to do this again soon, ladies. Okay.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for joining me today. I love you both. And Dylan, thanks for being there. To everybody out there, stay safe. Wash your hands. Don't use so much toilet paper, and stay home and flatten the curve. Do the best you can. I love you all. Whatever it is you stand for, be a voice. We're going to be back with some more everyday people soon. I love you guys. Have a good day.
Bye.